I guess we can greatly extend you, maybe? Helps us out. Discontent with the world rise a lot. Yeah, it's probably going to be this one. When we get 150 political power, we'll try to do that. If we take back Cape Town, by the way, almost. I would really like it if you guys would actually, you know, help me out a little bit more, but guess not. Air Doctrine. I guess strategic bombing goes up. Nixon staffer arrested. The men that were led out of the State, War, and Navy building in handcuffs by FBI agents, trying his best not to look remorseful in front of the press's dozens of popping flashbulbs. Their charges had yet to be announced publicly, but few had any doubts about what they were. Those who had not violated federal wiretapping laws were invariably involved in the cover-up that followed. The press was less interested in what crimes they committed, however, and more who ordered them. They were all racing to answer one question: how high up does this go? Richard Nixon watched the parade from room 180, silently fuming as he condemned were marched past the press and walked into a waiting police van. He knew Hoover could have dragged his feet and delayed the warrants if he wanted to, but he clearly had no interest in sticking by his president. Should have fired that bastard from day one, Nixon muttered to himself as the van sped off as the reporters dispersed. Pardoning them could have worked, but that would require them to be tried and convicted first. Not to mention burning away more goodwill than it's worth. Like all the other messages bearing down upon him, Nixon would need allies and time to get out of this, and both were dangerously short supply. How much do you increase discontent? I think it increases it slightly, but really not too much. Cape Town should fall within our hands in mere moments. The other fronts are going okay. And by okay, I mean like there's really just nothing changing about them. They're at 92. Do we have air superiority? We do, but I mean we're really just using you're just like you're not close air support, so you're actually not helping so much. Are you close air support? You are close air support. So sending you in is much better than having this guy around, so take him out. And once you leave, we'll send in the close air support. I mean, whenever you decide to leave, which will be... When are you gone? Now. Okay. So we'll send in you two down to here. The polls are updated. And a stellar NPP campaign. Has that changed? We were doing the East Coast, right? Small lead, strong lead. If we can get Pennsylvania, that wouldn't be too bad. Okay, I mean, we're killing a decent amount of troops here. We're definitely going to win the Deep South. There's really no doubt about that. The Upper South is a little bit more of a toss-up, so you actually might want to maybe secure a lead there. Let's see, like, what? I mean, just killing one of them would be really nice. Like, if we can kill the Boer Republic, that gets, I think, like, 15 divisions off the map entirely. Which would be really nice. By the way, am I at least getting rubber back from you? Still no. Why? Distance, relation. Fine. Don't worry about that too much then. Go Philippines. We will campaign. It is the Upper South. Just make sure we can, you know, solidify our position there. Project Boniface Memo 31-A. The following document is designed secret 3.4. Fairfax has confirmed contact with the following Filipino rebel organizations: the National Liberation Movement, the Anti-Japanese National Army, and the Islamic Liberation Front. Initial discussions with all are promising. Intelligence shared with Fairfax is considered to be a priority at this stage in Boniface. Full intelligence sharing has not yet been forthcoming, but we are confident in our ability to be able to trust with these sources. Fairfax has confirmed that anti-Japanese actions on the part of multiple groups is extremely likely to be engaging in the future. Potential for near future provision of weapons and financing is currently being evaluated for Fairfax. We'll lose some money. Who cares? It's fine. Don't worry about it. So the tanks are now in position. We won't be as aggressive as we were in the past. We'll take things a little bit slower. Men, tackle, apartion. Senator Johnson, Bennett, and the Speaker of the House, Cormac, sat across from President Nixon in the Oval Office, with tension between the three congressmen so thick you could cut it with a knife. All the formalities have been dealt with. All that remained was their assessment of how the upcoming impeachment trial would go. McCormick was the first to break the ice. The situation on Capitol Hill is, to put it bluntly, sir, gloomy. Nixon's brow furrowed. How gloomy. Yes, sir, McCormick replied, not missing a beat. When the articles of impeachment are read before the House, there's no question as which way the vote will go. As for the Senate, Johnson took over where McCormick left off. In the Senate, you'll need, what, 34 votes to quit? You'll probably get 12, maybe 15 if you're lucky. Even if I put the fear of God in every senator on the floor, you'll just never hit 34. Nice rhyming there, Johnson. And which way would you gentlemen vote? Nixon asked the senators. They stared down at the floor, their silence betraying their intentions. For a brief notice, the maelstrom of rage seemed to brew behind Nixon's eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. The rest of the meeting was rather unremarkable, and the senators departed in the White House in a swarm of journalists trying to glean a hint what went on there. Nixon, however, would not reveal his thoughts on the meeting until he sat down with dinner with his wife and daughter that night. Girls, moving back to California. The mod is just on the Steam Workshop, so you can get it there.
Let's go.
Okay, one guy is moving in, so we can probably move in one more province and be okay with it. The Hard Hat Riot breaks out in New York. The whole debacle began when a group of college students decided to hold a demonstration in New York. Enough was enough, they said. America must leave South Africa immediately. War was good for absolutely nothing, but the pocket of death's business suited merchants, and neither rhetoric nor propaganda can sway the commitment to peace and love for all men. So with their long flowing hair and picket signs and slogans, they packed the wall and broad streets by thousands, professed their unconditional demands. The city's working men disagreed. Among the most vocal was Peter J. Bennett, president of the Alliance of New York's largest construction and engineering unions. To a man, he and his fellow union man agreed, America has a moral obligation to protect democracy from fascism and encroachment, not just at home, but also abroad. Dissent from the war effort was tantamount to treason, so with their hard hats, old glories, and steel-toe boots, 200 construction workers coalesced into a counter-protest in Federal Hall to profess their unconditional patriotism. All that kept semblance in the order was a thin, shaky border of policemen sandwiched between the two righteous mobs, and when it broke or opened wide, as does a gatekeeper does with the bribed, order had collapsed in a bout of naked assault. Hippies and hard hats brawled with each other until they couldn't anymore. While a broad swath of New York laid sacrifices collateral damage, it took city 2 hours to remain in both. But by then, there were more than 70 people and untold millions of property damage had fallen victims to one of the worst riots since the Civil War. President Richard Nixon had expected to make an announcement among tensions lingering from the Hard Hat Riot, though whether or not it can succeed in doing so remains to be seen. The end of the line. Richard Nixon stared at the faces surrounding him in the East Room. Staffers, Secret Service, cooks, custodians, all having served his administration as loyally as they could for the past 4 years. He had decided to pontificate to them for a few minutes. Very end, they could learn not to do what he said. And remember, he concluded, though your enemies may try to drag you down, never step down to their level, never sink into the pettiness and spite, never submerge yourself in hate, because if you do, you'll triumph and you will destroy yourself. It has been an honor, thank you. He stopped in the East Room to muted applause. With all the paperwork signed at noon, just seconds away, Nixon opened the doors to the South Lawn of the White House, holding it for Pat, Tricia, and Julie, followed by John and Jackie Kennedy. The press, of course, turned out to revel in his enthronement. A final twist of the knife, but Nixon took it in stride. Couldn't be there for them to kick around much longer. At a stairway to Marine One, Nixon shook Kennedy's hand, simply stating, "Keep her steady, Jack." Climbed the stairway and turned around for one last look at the White House, the staff and guards, the reporters, the cameras. He couldn't stop himself from smiling. He gave a wave, threw up the 2 V for victory signs, chuckled at the fervent applause he got from the crowd, and turned around and stepped into Marine One and into history. So Nixon is no longer president. Replaced John F. Kennedy with John McCormick. Political power gains, stability goes down. The end of the line. Richard Nixon has resigned. As of noon today, President Richard Nixon has officially resigned as his post as President of the United States. Who is now president? JFK is now the president of the country. How is support? Low war support. We still need to get you guys going. 150 political power. It's expensive. And did we get a new... Oh, we have a brand new tree here. Okay, so apparently we're no longer able to interact with anything about Japan. Too late for that. It's time for the Kennedy presidency. When are you going to be here? You're going to be here in a few days, I'm hoping. Okay, fantastic. We can't make the same mistakes we did last time. You're going to be here in 1 day, 8 hours. We'll be gone in 2 hours. Did I make the same mistake I just did? You'll be there 1 day. You'll be there in 2 days. 13 hours. If I was to go back, 12 hours. No, we're fine. You'll be there first. It's still risky for sure. We have 2 units here. If we can kill you off... Actually... No, you don't connect. You wouldn't be in encirclement. Unfortunately. A cause for celebration. The Dirksen building has been quieter since Nixon's resignation, which was all the better for the brothers who had now found themselves enjoying dinner once again. Now that President Kennedy sat together with his brother Robert, who still served faithfully as his chief of staff. I'm proud of you, you know. Circumstances aren't ideal, but I can think of no better man to be president right now. Robert could barely contain his adoring smile. Think of all the things we could finally accomplish. Come on, Bobby, you're embarrassing me, chuckled John. You beamed nonetheless, but thank you. I know I can always count on you. Always, like I leave you for the NPP or anybody else, especially when you're about to give the country the change it so desperately deserves. Robert's enthusiasm, seemingly infectious, prompted more laughs from his brother. Now, we have a lot of work to get through before we can set things in motion. His looks become more serious, more determined. The party's image is somewhat tarnished at the moment with Nixon's fiasco, so I had arranged some trips across the country to shore up support. At this, he reached into his little pocket and pulled up a long itinerary of events and dates of various states and cities and handed it to Robert. Of course, if you have an election to worry about, Robert frowned before reverting to a smile. Come on, Jack. I suppose we can get and enjoy the meal before your big tour. You've earned it. Until the brothers sat down for a little while longer, enjoying their food in peace. As the time finally came for them to leave, Robert quickly glanced at the list and noted his brother's final destination. Our first destination. He smiled at his brother for one last time. You'll do great, Dak. I'll see you when you get back from Dallas. A fond farewell. You should be killed. Go up and around like this. Some units here, which is nice. Are you going to send any units? Like, I just... I want to capitulate the boar so badly. Okay, you are sending units in. That's going to be Johannesburg. Okay, that's starting pretty well. Where is South Africa again in this list? The Boers are going to capitulate at midnight tonight. The Boer Republic has concluded. It no longer exists. Which should hopefully actually make this, still not even. But way more even than it was in the past. So fantastic. The Battle of Johannesburg. The newly christened Johannesburg, formerly Johannesburg, when the city was still part of the South African Federation, has been captured by advancing federal troops. As war entered its acute phase with German and American troops fighting each other directly, the Boers found themselves with a proverbial clay pot between the iron ones. The newly established Boer Republic was immediately invaded, and despite trickle of supplies from the shields, the Federation was able to break through the border defenses and directly push into Johannesburg in their efforts to force the insurgent state to capitulate. As the second most populous city in all of South Africa, Johannesburg was heavily garrisoned and protected. There actually was nobody in the city. But it proved to be too little to stop the advancing attackers. The fortifications were torn down by heavy bombing, which were immediately followed by a general offensive. Despite the valiant efforts of the Boer soldiers, they couldn't resist the impetus and were forced back from the city center. There they found themselves in many defensive defense position sabotaged by the ANC partisans, which eventually forced the commander to surrender. With the Wall of Johannesburg, the Boers have lost not only their largest settlement, but also the only developed industrial sector, effectively crippling their war production. And this is much more difficult for them to keep fighting effectively. And many agree that this might be the beginning of all for this ill-fated uprising. So a little bit less discontent, which is nice. There's also a handful of units here who can probably get them killed. I think our next plan is to go here and take this city. There's a lot of debate right now about whether or not I should win or lose the war here. To me, popularity of some save the country, stability. Let's try to save the country. Oh, so we have 173. You know what? Let's greatly expand land operations. The tiers of a continent. The man from Angola climbed the staircase 2 steps at a time, surprised he hadn't been stopped yet. At the top, you would find an office of a man they called Mr. Joe Kennedy. American king or prime minister or whatever it is they had. The big boss, anyway. There it was. He'd be able to plead his case and perhaps they could help. The young man stepped out of his office and looked up at the Angolan with surprise. Sorry, he said, but you can't just walk in there. Is this John Kennedy? He tried to remember the lines he practiced in the mirror. Excuse me, are you Joe Kennedy? The white man looked at him with a fervent brow. I am the chief of staff, Robert. What is this about? Who are you? The Angolan struggled to remember the right words in English. I am Angolan. I came to America because of the Germans. They caused much suffering. And since I come here to ask for help for Angola, to say America is for freedom, but nobody lets me speak, I want to speak to Joe Kennedy for my people. Robert Kennedy had been hearing about the killings in Angola. The Germans have been slaughtering people from all over the world for 20 years. And people had become desensitized to it. But he thought maybe it was worth trying. Even if they only saved a few people, surely it was worthwhile. Surely he had a duty to convince his brother. Kennedy smiled at the Angolan. Well, you sure don't have the appointment, but why don't you come in? I'm sure we can spare a few minutes for your concerns. To make the world a little bit better, we should. Looking at here, we can take this port. We'll actually surround all of these units. The NPP election primaries. The National Progressive Party convention concluded today with a further surprising outcome. After multiple ballots and candidates representing each of the major factions of the party over the whole spectrum of political politics, including Michael Harriting and Scoop Jackson, a clear winner emerged, George Wallace. By the way, do I have a... I should be able to... No, 3 more days. Okay, never mind. A clear winner emerged, George Wallace. The controversial Alabama governor, with his well-known and outspoken views on segregation and his support for Jim Crow laws of the southern states, focused more on his primary election, not on the debates about civil rights, but on the corruption of the current Republican-Democrat administration, and the increasing power of the federal government. He successfully torpedoed RFK's leadership bid by owning on a single fact that he was the former campaign manager for Nixon and his brother is chief of staff of John F. Kennedy. So how did the corruption and rot go, and would it infect another Kennedy presidential ambitions? Enough delegates in convention were convinced that it would, and thus handed the nod to Wallace. In his victory speech, the governor spoke not simply as running for president of the South, but for all of America. I intend to give the American people a clear choice. I welcome the fight between our philosophy and the corruption and heavy-handedness of Washington. Every man, woman, and child in the United States, I am in this race because I believe in the American people. I've been pushed around for too long. And they, like you and I, are fed up with a continuing trend towards banana republic, which now subjects the individual to the dictates of the all-powerful central government. Wallace has great support in the southern states and pockets of support in conservative enclaves, who, despite the increased power of the government in their lives, and millions more, that just want to banish the corruption and dirty politics of Nixon to the history books as fast as possible. It just remains to be seen if this can translate into a victory in November. I'll actually drive here at a decent rate, because we can just get a handful of surrounds. We'll be doing pretty well for ourselves. Now you are dead, which is great for us. Take over this port. Delete your old orders. I do want you to be more on the north side here. Enter decisions. Can't do anything here quite yet. Political power. Yeah. I like political power. So these guys should start running out of supplies sooner rather than later. And all this territory is basically undefended, which is quite nice for us. Polls have been updated. So we got a small lead in the west coast. We did get some more support in here. We're still winning in the deep south. Okay. So I guess after this, maybe you want to go for the Great Plains. Once you actually have the ability to do so, of course. I mean, is the Great Plains worth anything? I mean, I guess there's Missouri. No, the Great Lakes have to be better for us. Again, once you actually have the... Oh, JFK's already been shot. Fantastic. Go up here for now. John F. Kennedy has been assassinated. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the newly inaugurated president of the United States, smiled and waved the crowd from the motorcade driving him along through downtown Dallas, accompanied by Governor John Connally of Texas and their wives. Kennedy was enjoying the cool breeze through his hair and adoration of the onlookers. He was already the more popular than Nixon and achieved significant success in calming the nation after Nixon's ignominious fall from grace. Connally turned to the president, commenting that nobody could say that all of Dallas didn't love him. No, replied the president, flashing the governor with a winning smile. You certainly can't. As he turned back to the crowd, he heard a sudden blast, and his head blew apart, showering his wife in his blood. As the dust settled, two bodies were brought into the city morgue, the president's and that of a young black man shot dead by Officer J.D. Tippit while attempting to steal a car at gunpoint. He was later identified as Martin Joseph Henry, a Guyanese immigrant who worked as a custodian in the Dallas County Courthouse. Police investigated the courthouse, found a Carcano rifle stashed in the fourth floor maintenance closet, and several shell casings were found by the window overlooking a stretch of road where the president was shot. A search of his apartment revealed a motive. Henry was a fervent Guyanese nationalist, and he felt that he had to stop the American hegemony over his home nation at any cost. As Speaker of the House and acting Vice President John McCormick prepares to take oath of office, America is slowly coming to grips with the tragedy just after wrapping their heads around the reality of Nixon's resignation. People were nervous about the future in both their own and that of their nation, but no matter how bleak it may seem, there's a sense the American people will pick up the pieces and soldier on as they always have. So, he's just dead. JFK's been assassinated. Now we have John W. Cormack. Just been a really... Oh, okay, well, the McCormick presidency now. How are you guys doing, by the way? Are you going to kill these guys down towards the south? You, by the way. Who are we actually... This is Ostafrika. Which puts you... Dude, West Africa. You're this one. Okay. Who's actually the major powers here? All three of them. Okay, well, that doesn't help me out, like, at all. You took... They landed in Cape Town again. God damn it. The work goes on. Red, white, and blue balloons have colonized the roof of the Republican Democratic Convention Hall, where, as the booming convention indicates, the party has come to decide who will be the RD's next presidential candidate. Ignoring the no-hopers and the two front-runners of the Republican, Lyndon Johnson and Democrat Wallace Bennett, the young men wearing all the way with LBJ and Bennett for America, badges glare at each other through the wafting smoke. Of course, as it has always been since the state of Senate of Rome, the real decision-making takes place behind closed doors in a meeting room far removed from the hurly-burly of the convention hall, where a handful of craggy, white-haired men smoke cigars and ponder which man would be more likely to play ball with the big dogs. If they were going to get past Nixon's disgrace in the year of all three presidents, they needed a candidate who would be able to galvanize the public and counter the sudden powerful NPP. Puffing away, they made a decision who might govern the United States in the next 4 years, like they were deciding what to have for dinner. Should we go for LBJ or should we go for Wallace Bennett? I'll go with whoever the first person who puts it in the chat is. As who could be the next LBJ? Okay, all the way with LBJ. Can't believe you let them take Cape Town a second time. Just absolutely insane. Got so many troops over here. Gotta still clean up this. Gotta clean up this pocket. I don't know if the AI has, like, the capacity to do that, really. Like,